on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
On the Good Friday, it is a Good Friday, at least for the Phillies, after winning their home opener that was delayed a day. So, guess what? The Phillies actually gave you a win. I'm not fully sure if it changes anybody's feelings about the team, but the good news is Phillies have won a game to start their homestand against the Reds. Josh Hennig hanging out with you for the Power Hour known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Good Friday to everyone out there. Hope you're all being safe out and about. I know this is a big travel weekend, so please, I do encourage everybody to take your time wherever you go and whatever you do this weekend. Coming up in about 20 minutes from now, I'll talk with Brandon Scoopy Robinson about the state of the NBA playoffs heading in as the Sixers. They're locked into the 3 seed. So what does that mean for them moving forward? We'll get deeper into that with Scoopy, NBA insider for Bally Sports, coming up around 6:20 tonight. And of course, you can join the conversation. 609-403-0973 is the text board. And don't forget your DMs, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Also, don't forget we have one more opportunity today for you to qualify for the Eagles Pick Your Trip contest coming up at around 50 minutes from now. Andrew in Linwood was our latest qualifier, so thank you to Andrew. He called in. He got through. We have a couple more opportunities for you to get through as well here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies win. How did they win? Well, I'll tell you how they won. They played real baseball game. Okay? And I know that sounds very generic and dismissive, but if we're being completely, brutally honest, we all know for a fact that the first 2 games of the year looked like the Phillies were trying to figure out how to play baseball again. To me, it's very obvious that the Phillies are a team that they've kind of had to find themselves through the last week and a half because they spent so much of the year without JT Realmuto, without Kyle Schwarber, without Trey Turner. Those are 3 of your 5 most important players, and they went around for you pretty much all of spring training. Just an absolute ridiculous situation to be in that doesn't happen every year. And on the flip side, for a Sixers team that also started the year out not exactly great, the Phillies are in a similar situation. So for me, opening day, you win 5-2. You win a game that you played fundamental baseball. You got the job done. You made some smart switches. Gregory Soto didn't vomit. He actually got the job done. To me, it was a positive day for the Phils. And I think that for a lot of fans out there, seeing now Craig Kimbrell get 2 saves early in the year is also a good sign. Selfishly, I would love to see Sir Anthony Dominguez get those opportunities because he's on my fantasy baseball team. But I understand that for the Phillies, they look at Kimbrell and they say, look, you came into the year, I think the number was 6 away from 400 saves for your career. So you are somebody that we're not going to ignore what your history is. We're not going to ignore who and what you are. So to me, overall, I think it was a legitimately Good Friday in the sense of baseball, not just because it's Good Friday for everyone who is a believer in the Bible out there. I try not to put labels on people. I know this is a complete 10-second side rant, but I'm not here to put labels on people. Just because I call myself a Christian or someone like Rob Body who's face on the field, doesn't mean I'm going to label other people for what they're doing or not doing on Good Friday. So free country. But we are recognizing this is Good Friday, not just because it is the holiday, but because the Phillies won. So for me, in my opinion, it's a Good Friday plus. Super plus on it. By the way, is it just me or is the laziest thing now in media? Everything is a plus on the end of it. Like ever since Disney Plus came out, everybody else has a plus too. There's Paramount Plus, there's Hulu Plus Live Sports. Like everything's got a plus now. It's so ridiculous. Over to the Sixers, who are basically not playing anyone tonight. And I think that this weekend is an example of how the NBA's new playoff system is completely backfiring on them. Boston not playing anyone tonight. Sixers not playing anyone tonight. The Magic are sitting half their team, basically. And when I have their team, I mean like almost anyone of significance is not playing. So, last night's game is basically the last time you're going to see the Sixers in their entirety play in any game this regular season until the postseason. And whether the Sixers start their postseason on Saturday or Sunday, that'll be the next time you see them. And I think for some people, I don't know, is that enough for you? Did you see enough from the Sixers to make you feel good that they can get the job done? I think for some people, I think for them, they will not believe in this team until they see them get past the second round. I'm going to tell you right now, I believe the Sixers can get past the second round. Now, will they or not is a different conversation because I think there's two important factors for this Sixers team as they get ready for the postseason. Number one, as they get ready for the postseason, is when you look at Joel Embiid, you know that he should be MVP. But it's everybody else that concerns you. There's no guarantee that Harden is going to be Harden every day. Tyrese Maxey had some rough games in recent weeks. Tobias Harris, I mean, he's Jekyll and Hyde. You don't really know what kind of production you're getting from him on a night-to-night basis. We're all assuming that PJ Tucker is going to show up for the postseason and ball out, but there's no guarantee that he's going to do that. George Niang, there's no guarantee what he's going to do on a night-to-night basis. And frankly, Paul Reed is another guy. You have no guarantee what he's going to give you off the bench on a night-to-night basis. DeAnthony Melton, he has struggled in recent weeks. Now, how much of that is because of injury? How much of that's because he's just struggled? I don't know. But I think that there is no question. There are some issues with this team that concern you. So that's factor number one is, will the guys around Embiid show up on a night-to-night basis and get the job done for them to win? The second factor I think that is interesting is, how does this postseason play out? Because, there are people who believe that teams like the Miami Heat, teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers, they can rock the boat a little bit. They can be disruptors in the postseason. And while I don't deny that to be the case, I do think that there's a part of you that does look at the Eastern Conference and just assume that the Bucks and the Celtics are the two best, and there's really nobody else to really worry about out there. So we'll get deeper into the NBA playoffs coming up with Brandon Scoopy Robinson here coming up on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM in about 10 minutes. Also, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. You've been hearing, speaking of 97.3 ESPN, the Masters updates throughout the day. Masters has been suspended due to weather issues. And actually, there was a tree that came crashing down, I believe it was on the 17th hole. And I wanted to touch on the Masters really quick for one reason. Brooks Koepka right now has rocketed to the top of the leaderboard. He's minus 12. And Koepka made an interesting comment about how if it wasn't for the injuries he sustained, then maybe he would not be so quick to have jumped from the PGA Tour to live golf. And I think it's an amazing example of how these athletes are still human beings. And, as for someone like me getting ready for UFC 287 this weekend, and, I know that I'll have some picks for you guys a little bit later this hour here on 97.3 ESPN. But, for UFC 287, there's human interest stories that go all up and down this card, especially with Jorge Masvidal fighting in front of his hometown crowd down in Miami. And you see how the week is impacting him. And it reminds me of how, it's difficult for some athletes to go home and compete. And for other athletes, it relaxes them. It makes them more at ease with their environment. And I flipped the script over to Brooks Koepka because I'm listening to a guy that sounds like that he's basically healthy for the first time in a long time. And he's certainly playing like it. He actually got through his entire round before the weather became a factor. And this is going to be a blessing in disguise for him because now he is one of a handful of golfers who doesn't have to resume their round tomorrow after all the weather. He gets to just pick up in the third round. So guys like John Rahm, Victor Hovland, guys like Cam Young, Justin Rose, one of the former Masters winners, Patrick Reed. All these guys are on the leaderboard, but all of these guys still have to finish their second round. Whereas a guy like Koepka gets to just go right into the weekend like normal. And I think that for a guy who already has the lead, a guy who seems to be in a good place physically and mentally, he has a real chance to win this thing. And like I said, it reminds me of the human side of these athletes. We sometimes forget that there is a human element that comes to these athletes and ability to execute and perform, because of social media and because of fantasy sports and because of sports gambling and because of, hyperbole in the media, on television, even here on radio, not here on 97.3 ESPN, but on other radio platforms, on podcasts. There has been a dehumanizing of athletes. There has been an element that has removed athletes from being understood as people because of how much money they make, because of how people idolize them. You buy their jersey, all these things. And Koepka to me is an amazing example of a guy who says, hey, you know what? I didn't leave the PGA Tour because I hate the PGA Tour. I left because live golf was a better opportunity for me because of my health situation to recover than was being in the PGA Tour. And I believe it's an interesting example of, the next time you hear an athlete make a decision, like the people who have been critical over the years of, just to use an example, Mike Trout staying in Anaheim with the Angels, or an athlete like DeMar DeRozan choosing to not take a lesser offer to go home to LA and go to Chicago, for example. Athletes who make these decisions is not always clear cut. Sometimes athletes make decisions for things that are much bigger than just sports. And I think it's a very unique reminder of what Koepka said this week. NBA playoffs start next week. You hear the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. We will break down the Sixers are locked into the 3 seed. What does it mean? NBA insider Brandon Scoop B. Robinson joins me next here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein. Mike Carlin joins me in the studio. The Sixers lock up the 3rd seed in the NBA Eastern Conference playoffs, head to Atlanta to face the Hawks. We will recap the action. The sportsbook consigliere Dave Sherapan checks in from Las Vegas with his unique perspective on this weekend's action. The Phillies host the Reds. We will react to the Phillies Home Opener. All that and more. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan. The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online, mattblattnissan.com.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants, to polos and khakis, to Oxfords or t-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
When you want experience, go for the best. Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence.
Hey, South Jersey contractors, is your current supplier failing on your railing? Dennisville Fence can supply or install whatever type of railing you need. With the largest selection in South Jersey, we are your go-to source for cable rail, glass rail, aluminum, and composite. Plus, we have a mile of white vinyl T-railing in stock to help you stay on time and on budget. Have trouble getting up the steps? Our instant rail and ADA handrail will have you covered. Don't leave your customer in the dark. Our full line of low-voltage lighting will knock your job out of the park. With materials delivered right to your home or job site, we make it easy to get you the products you need when you need them. So start planning your project today. Visit DennisvilleFence.com or our newest location at 229 Shore Road in Summers Point. Again, that's 229 Shore Road in Summers Point.
Pick up the phone and call Dennisville Fence. 1-800-499-FENCE.
Visit DennisvilleFence.com.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that floor dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe. Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors, with ultra-thick pads that trap and lock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day,
and dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
This weekend on ESPN Radio.
Way out of here.
On favorites to win the National League go head-to-head in Atlanta. Manny Machado and the San Diego Padres begin their first East Coast road trip of the season when they face Ronald Acuna Jr. and the Braves.
Ronald Acuna Jr.
The Padres at the Braves. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern and Sunday at 6 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
We will get to the messages from Jeff in Ocean City, David in Violent, and more a little bit later this hour here on the Power Hour, known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers back in action against the Hawks tonight, but basically half the team's not playing. Half the NBA seems like it's not playing tonight. So it seems like a perfect time to have NBA insider Brandon Scoopy Robinson join me here. I'm glad to see that my friend is not completely taking the night off like what seems like half the NBA is doing tonight. My friend, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, refreshed, and I'm not load managing on the job tonight.
I appreciate that. But I do want to ask you about that because it feels like in some ways that it's like, you know, tonight's supposed to be one of those nights. It's important for some of these teams, right? There are teams that are still fighting for playoff positioning, and you got teams like even the Magic who are sitting guys left and right. The Mavs are sitting guys, and you're just kind of looking around. You're like, man, guys, like I didn't know Good Friday was the day to just load and manage.
Yeah, I mean, on the 5th day, I guess they rested with all power in their hands. But when I look at the Dallas Mavericks, that was a bit perplexing to me, only because I know that I looked at the scouting report. I was on a flight last night, and I was looking at the probables and the nots, and I know Kyrie and Luka were probable, and Kyrie was ruled out today, and Luka is playing. They play against the Chicago Bulls, who last I checked, DeMar DeRozan was questionable, and I know that Nikola Vucevic was not listed on the scouting report, but I know that this is a game that the Mavs need. And then you look tonight concurrently at the Sixers and the Atlanta Hawks out in State Farm Arena. And the Hawks and AFC, they do need that game more so than the Sixers need it. But I think in some cases, you look at the 76ers, you look at Joel Embiid and what he's brought to the table, you need some rest. And so I kind of think in a situation where you're a first seed, a second seed, or a third seed, you try to get rest where you can. But when you're at the bottom, you ask questions. I was in Houston for about 10 days and spent some time with the Lakers when they were playing the Rockets, and LeBron and Anthony Davis were in the game for much of the fourth quarter. And AD, I think, had 40 points in that game, and LeBron notched a triple-double. So I think for every team, it's different. I think for a team like the Lakers, where they're still trying to find that level of schematics and cohesiveness, they need some more time together. The Mavs, we really don't know what they're going to be, if they're going to be a play-in team and or a playoff team. But then, you look at the Pelicans with Zion Williamson, as I reported yesterday, that, the Pelicans want to see him do well, but he wants to be in, but the stars have not aligned in that regard. So it's all interesting.
Is this just a situation, to steal the word you just used, the stars aligning, or is part of what we're seeing at the end of this NBA season something that the league is going to try to fix with this in-season tournament?
Well, I think you saw it with the new agreements on or the new terms and conditions. That is the new collective bargaining agreement, even with players playing a minimum of 65 games in order to get some of those league awards. I think, in answer to your question, we'll see. Personally, I'm not a fan of an in-league tournament, just like I wasn't a fan of when the logo was taken off the shoulder of the jersey. I'm still very old school in that regard, but I don't make the decisions here. I just report them when I can. But when you look at just what's happening, I think rest is important. I don't play in the NBA, but I cover it and I travel a lot, and it can be tiring sometimes. And I think that a midseason tournament for some may scream more health, more mental health, more physical health, and more. So we'll see. I wasn't really a fan of the play-in tournament. Personally, I'm still not. But I get it. I get the ratings. I get just all that comes with it. So, as things evolve, change has to come.
Yeah, I don't mind change. I just feel like, and we're talking with NBA insider Brandon Scoop B Robinson here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, at Scoop B on Twitter. I just feel like the league, in this desire to grow and evolve, is kind of glossing over the obvious, which is there's a lot of fans who are frustrated with this load management. And I feel like, a guy like Embiid, who has tried to play as many games as he could this year, guys like LeBron, who wants to be out on the court. I feel like there are stars like Giannis who want to be out there, but they get overshadowed by the guys who, I'll call it, maybe taking advantage of the situation.
Look, I think when you talk about guys that are believed to take advantage of the situation, you look at the Clippers and you look at Kawhi. But I take that and I raise you this. Imagine if Kawhi did not take some time off and was playing straight through, and then the Clippers are without Paul George. What would have happened? Would they be at the point that they're at now, in spite of? But that's on the business side. On the basketball side, from a fan's perspective, or that mom and that dad who paid a ton of money, spent maybe their life savings for a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, that doesn't get to see LeBron play or Kawhi play, I'd be angry. As a journalist, I try to be the conduit between the fan and the player. and I can see it from both sides. I'm not sure how the midseason tournament and the play-in tournament solves that, because but I also look at it like this. I know that the average fan may get angry at a player who does not play all 82 games, but when you look at professional baseball, all those guys don't play all 100 and something games there, and they get days off. A pitcher is not pitching every day. A relief pitcher is not pitching every day. They're on a schedule. And so I think it's comparing apples to oranges, but 82 games has been what 82 games has been ever since I've started watching basketball. But I also think there's a lot more money involved with contracts, with advertisement, and there's just a lot more eyes, whether that be 24-hour news coverage and social media. And again, it goes back to the kid whose parents spent their life savings to take him to a game, and the star's not playing. And it's the separation of church and state that is basketball today.
Let's zero back into the Eastern Conference. The Sixers are locked into that 3rd seed in the East. A lot of people are arguing, do they have a legitimate shot at making it around the postseason, considering that they're also in the same conference as what might be the 2 best teams in the NBA, Boston and Milwaukee?
I say yes.
But why, though? Is it because of Joel Embiid? Is it because you believe Harden is going to show up in the postseason? Do you believe that PJ Tucker has been, kind of on cruise control half the year and he's going to pick it up in the postseason? Do you believe that Maxey is going to be better than he's been the last 2 weeks? Like I feel like every fan who is listening to us right now has these questions.
I kind of simplified a little bit and value everything you said. I had a conversation with a Hall of Famer and a top 75 player on the phone today, just casually talking about just the state of the NBA. And I said to that particular person that I feel like this is like the NCAA tournament, and that you really don't know who is going to make it to the finals. It's not like the Warriors and the Cavs every year, some years back. And they said back to me, yeah, for once in the NBA, it's actually a lot of parity now. And I think that as much as you made mention of the Celtics and the Bucks, as well as the Sixers, some people would put the Cleveland Cavaliers in that conversation in the East as well. You really don't know who's who. I look at the East that way, and crazy enough, I look at the West that way, and I have felt that way about the West since the last month and a half, where I really saw the Golden State Warriors get healthy and start moving the ball similarly to how they did last year. And I've felt, I've said this to people, and I said this to Draymond last month. I said, I really feel like y'all are the modern day San Antonio Spurs. You are the YMCA gym league with 40 and 50-year-olds that are really taking it to the hole against these 20-somethings. And when I look at the Eastern Conference and I look at the Sixers, I look at the Celtics, I look at the Bucks. I think the Bucks have been slept on because they were not in the conversation last season, and they've dealt with issues with injuries to Chris Middleton. But I also look at this Boston Celtics team that has been a well-oiled machine since last season, and adding pieces like Malcolm Brogdon has definitely helped. Marcus Smart is still Marcus Smart, and you know who Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are. But when I look at the Philadelphia 76ers, I think the thing that I really do like about this team specifically is not just Joel Embiid, but I like the supporting cast that is with that team. I've spent some time with them this season. I think that the addition of DeAnthony Melton has been helpful. I think Tobias Harris, when the ball is in his hand, plays well. And I also think that James Harden does not have to get you 40 or 50 in order for the Sixers to win. I think he's controlled the tempo of the team. He scores when he needs to, and he makes things happen for that team. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make it there. But the playoffs, you got to win 16 games in order to the playoffs and the finals in order to be the champs. It's a long second season, and we'll see what happens. But I think Philly has just as much of a puncher's chance that Boston does, and just as much as a puncher's chance as the Milwaukee Bucks and even the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I'm glad you brought up the Cavs, because I'm starting to hear also people say that the Cavs and the Miami Heat are the 2 teams that can really shake things up in the postseason. I think the Cavs could be a matchup problem personally for Boston. Miami, I mean, we know what Miami is, right? I mean, it's Jimmy Butler, it's Eric Spoelstra, it's Bam Adebayo, it's if all their shooters are on, right?
Kyle Lowry, as well as I can't think of the shooter right now, but you know who I'm talking about.
Hero, Strauss.
Yeah. Yes, it's been a long week. Yes, Tyler Hero. I like Strus as well, but I am more sold on Cleveland than I am Miami. I think Miami personally was in a situation a couple of years ago where they were in the bubble, and it just was a level of focus. Milwaukee wasn't who Milwaukee was supposed to be yet, and Brooklyn hadn't taken shape yet, and they were a bottom seed in the playoffs in the bubble at that point. I like Miami. I like certain guys on that team. I know certain guys on that team, but I don't fear them like I do Cleveland. I think that from top to bottom, I like the Cavs, and the Cavs were good even before Donovan Mitchell was moved over to the fold there. Former Sixer Danny Green is there as well. And, talking to him a couple months ago, he really likes the focus and the resolve and the fact that they're overlooked in that instance. So I think Cleveland is definitely someone who should be talked about more, but for obvious reasons, Boston is more of a sexier look, as well as in Milwaukee. And even Philadelphia, that's where we are. But I do like Cleveland. I think Donovan Mitchell has made all the difference in the world for that team. And that trade with the Utah Jazz mutually benefited everyone involved. So I do like Cleveland, but I still think that this is a playoffs that you really don't have any indication of. I don't know that we knew UConn was going to be the men's national champion. I don't think we knew that LSU would be the women's national champion. Everybody was looking at least South Carolina on the women's side, and here we are. Everybody looks at Kentucky and Duke every year on the college basketball side, and here we are. Connecticut and LSU made it to the big dance and did what they needed to do, and I think the same could be said about the NBA.
I want you to write the rest of this sentence. Joel Embiid winning MVP means what?
That the truth was revealed.
And what truth is that?
That he is the NBA's MVP.
It's interesting because for a lot of Sixer fans, they kind of hold on to Embiid as the symbol of the process years. That they went through all that losing, and that I think for a lot of Sixer fans, they would look at it, maybe not the rest of the NBA, but Sixer fan says this is why we went through those horrible seasons, is to get an MVP winner.
Yeah, I think Joel Embiid, I think he's respected and revered, not just for the process era. I guess you can put Ben Simmons as part of that process era, but I think he matches Philly's energy as far as the brash bravado and just bringing a lunch pail every day and doing what you do. But, I also feel like he's the most beloved Sixer in 76ers folklore since Allen Iverson. And he's a big man that moves like a skinny man or like a point guard. Most guards I feel like are revered that way. I feel like Charles Barkley is loved in Philly, but not the same way Embiid is loved. I also think that his growth has just been amazing to watch. Like, I spent some time in Paris in January during the NBA games in Chicago between the Bulls and the Pistons, and I talked to one of his former teammates just about Nerlens Noel, just about what Embiid was like or in those early days during the process era. And he said, he was silly. How you see him now is just a more polished version of him. And I think that for Embiid, I think that the Sixers making it to the next level would just symbolize all that is the city of brotherly love. And I think they'll be behind him no matter what. During his time here, he's seen the Eagles go to multiple Super Bowls. He's seen the Phillies go to the World Series. But I think ultimately to win a championship in the city of Philadelphia, I think would exemplify what the process was. But I feel like if it doesn't, we'll see what happens, because now you're entering territory where James Harden has some options there. And I've spoken to some folks in Houston who feel like, that could happen. I've spoken to some people that have said that, Doc Rivers' tenure with the 76ers, if they don't make it to the finals, could be questioned. And the names like Ime Udoka have been floating. I've been hearing that name since February. And so I hope for the Sixers' sake that they do go to the finals, and I hope that they win it. It would be great it would be a great story of the process with the 76ers fan base.
I'll tell you right now, if the Sixers won the NBA Finals, that parade in Philadelphia is going to be insane. I can already warn you that, because remember, it would be in the middle of the summer. Usually these parades, the Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl, that's in February, right? When the Phillies won the World Series 2008, that parade was in November. Middle of the summer, nobody has school and half the world is already going on vacation. Mm-hmm. That parade will be absolutely insanity. I mean, you're gonna need about 20 people from TMZ just to keep up with all the chaos at that point.
I believe it. I think for Philly, it's overdue. I mean, we remember the 2019 Kawhi Leonard shot that ultimately decided the Sixers' fate, and Toronto ultimately winning the 2019 NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors. We remember the Allen Iverson step over on Ty Lue against the Lakers. Yep. AI and Kobe Bryant talking smack to each other. Come to Philly. You remember them not getting it done in the finals, although many hoped that underdog story would be the Sixers. Shaq and Kobe were just too powerful at that moment. But we do remember the glory days of Dr. J, Maurice Cheeks, and Moses Malone, and some of the other folks that have come out of Philadelphia. We know of Larry Brown's history. We know of Jimmy Lionel. We know about all these different things, a culmination of just a city, looking for that ring and relevancy in this past 90s segment of basketball. It's time for Philly to make that happen. I hope it happens, because it's a lot of competition in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference.
Before I let you go, excluding the Phoenix Suns, because everybody loves talking about the Suns and Durant and everything, who's the team in the Western Conference that you, Brandon Scoopy Robinson, is most intrigued to watch when the Western Conference playoffs begin?
The Los Angeles Lakers.
They're probably in the play-in tournament, so will they even get out of the play-in tournament is the question, right?
If they beat the Pelicans, then yes. I think I've spent some time with the Lakers over the last couple of weeks. And their processes, and from folks that I've spoken with, is simply this: we're a team of guys that want to play together, and those who don't want to play together, they ain't here. I said, well, to someone in the know, well, one of those guys is down the hall, and they looked at me again and said, Scoop, those that want to be here are here. Those who aren't, they ain't. I think that when you look at this Lakers team, they did very well at the trade deadline to complement LeBron. They've played well without LeBron. Now they have, been in this process where they're playing with him. It all depends on Anthony Davis's health, as always, but it also depends on how healthy LeBron can stay and the supporting cast stays. I really do like the pieces not named D'Angelo Russell. I like the Mo Bamba addition. I like the Vanderbilt addition. I like that team. I really think that if they can come together and make it happen, so be it. I also look at the Golden State Warriors as that fifth cup of wine at the holiday party that can do well. But I think when you look at the teams that are currently in, you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, who have had issues at points this season, obviously with the Ja Morant commotion, and they were playing well without him, and they found a way to make things happen yet and still. Denver is going to be very interesting, as is Sacramento, because you've never seen Sacramento in a playoff series, especially coached by Mike Brown, but we'll see what happens. I think if Sacramento and Golden State play against each other, that'll be very interesting. The Denver Nuggets dichotomy, folks that I've spoken with within that Nuggets organization, they really feel like this is their time. So we'll see. But those are some of the teams that I've observed. The Lakers intrigue me, but like I said, the teams that are in, the Nuggets, they definitely do intrigue me, as do the Warriors and the Grizzlies.
Selfishly, I really, really want Golden State versus Sacramento and Lakers versus Nuggets in the first round. Selfishly, that's what I want as a basketball fan. I want to see the contrast in those matchups. So we'll see if I get what I want or if, these teams determine another destiny. But the man covering it all, follow him on Twitter at ScoopB, NBA insider Brandon ScoopB Robinson. And don't forget to check him out on Instagram at ScoopB as well for the full ScoopB experience. My friend, I appreciate you carving me into your schedule tonight.
Of course, man. The man with some sources, Brandon ScoopB Robinson. Thank you as always for the opportunity to be myself. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, my friend. Take care of yourself, all right?
Brother, I'll talk to you soon.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll get to your messages on the other side. Text board is open, 609-403-0973, and your DMs in the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And I'll give you my picks for this weekend, UFC 287, coming up in about 7 minutes from now.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's Maxey with a step-back three on Grimes. It's gone again. Maxey filling it up.
It's Sixers Hawks tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
The original was big, but the sequel is even bigger. Introducing the Bigger Spin Scratch-Offs from the New Jersey Lottery. Scratch your way to instant cash prizes now up to $300,000. Or a chance to spin the big prize wheel live in person for an even bigger guaranteed prize up to $400,000. Better give it a colossal spin. Try the Bigger Spin Scratch-Offs today. Now playing across Jersey. Must be 18 older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I had a nighttime routine for my frequent heartburn. I would drink milk. I would sleep upright with more pillows. But that painful burning stayed. So I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine. With just one pill each morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn day and night. Now I have a new nighttime routine. I call it sleeping.
One pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn. With Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, trunk lids, license plate holders, and headlights. They've got lots of headlights. When you need parts, get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. eBay Motors. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
At Lowe's, we're always bringing pros more ways to save on the brands you trust. Right now, buy a select DeWalt 12-volt bare tool starting at $119 and get a DeWalt 12-volt 2-pack battery free valued at $129. Plus, you'll always save big on job lot quantities when buying select building supplies in bulk. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Lowe's reserves the right to limit quantities. Discount taken at time of purchase. Battery and charger not included with buy items. Valid for 5-3.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Here's what you missed on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
The fact that you think that all mac and cheese is the same because it's cheese.
No, I never said
conversation
that.
was around?
Never said that.
You essentially said that, Mac.
Never.
You said,
I'm not arguing some mac and cheese is way better than others. I'm saying the worst mac and cheese is a soggy noodle with cheese on it. I still tear that
I'm
up.
not eating that.
All right, so that's you.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN. Brought to you by
the Gallery Bar Book and Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on a parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the Gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Don't forget, coming up in less than 10 minutes from now, your final opportunity to qualify for the Eagles Pick Your Trip contest. That's down over fire in about 8 minutes from now. You'll call number 7. You have an opportunity to pick your trip for an Eagles road game this season. Thanks to Phillies Sports Trip. You must be present at Maynard and Margate on April 27th if you want to win. Of course, that's my broadcast live 2 to 6, April 27th, Thursday of the NFL. As promised, check in with you guys messaging into the show. Of course, as always, the DMs are open on the 973 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank, Seattle, and your text coming in at 609-403-0973. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in. Is not worried about the Sixers' loss on Thursday night. This team is ready for a run. They will get to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's from Jeff in Ocean City. Jeff, I love the confidence. I love the faith you have in this team. I think there's a lot of people who probably feel a similar way to you about the 76ers. They can make it. And I agree, they can make it. But I think 2 things have to happen. As I said, number 1, earlier in the hour, the whole team has to show up. It cannot be just Embiid scoring half this team's points on a night in and night out basis. That is just too untenable for anyone to expect this team to be able to do that consistently. And number 2, I think that it depends on the other team. We don't talk enough about the other end of the bracket, the other side of the equation with a lot of this stuff. And I think that when it comes to sports, we as fans don't always remember that the road to championships are paved with a lot of, I don't want to use the word luck because I think luck is an overused term and misappropriated many times. It's paved with a lot of good fortune, we'll call it. You want to call it, things going your way, the ball rolling your direction. It's like how today Tiger Woods almost had a hole in one, but he just missed the hole by like a couple inches, almost dropped right into the hole. Or like the people on the 17th hole where the tree fell, it almost hit a bunch of spectators. It just missed them. Sometimes you just miss, and you got to just be grateful that it went your way. And sometimes, you know, it's better to count your blessings than worry about exactly why it happened. If I'll put it that way. But I love Jeff in Ocean City's enthusiasm for this team. David in Violent chimes in on the text board, says, Josh, what do you want to see from the Sixers between now and the start of the playoffs? What I want to see is Max McClung do a 360 dunk, and I want to see nobody get injured. That's what I want. I look, for me, David and Violent, I think that they're doing the right thing by sitting a lot of guys tonight. I know that for a lot of people, it's a little frustrating because, you know, teams like Atlanta and Brooklyn are still fighting for playoff positioning right now. You know, Brooklyn basically needs to win one of their two final games to lock in that final seed, and Miami needs to win out, and Brooklyn needs to lose out for them to get there. And I think it's very likely that Brooklyn's going to win at least one of these two final games, so they'll lock in the 6th seed against the Sixers. And you don't want to play your guys against Brooklyn in the final game of the year because you're probably going to post them in the postseason anyway. Atlanta, they're trying to see if they can hold on to that 8th spot for the play-in tournament, which is important because remember, the play-in tournament gives preferential treatment for the 7-8 seeds. The 7-8 game, the loser of that game still gets to play again. The winner of that game gets the 7 seed. So if you're Atlanta, you want to win tonight because you want to make sure that you don't drop out of that 8 seed. So I think that for the NBA, as I was saying earlier, it's not a good look to go out there and have teams just basically sitting half of their rosters tonight, you know, and letting other teams basically just get walk away easy wins. It's kind of how I look at it. Luke and Ventnor chimes in at 609-403-0973. I believe in this Sixers squad as a whole, and the MVP, Joel Embiid, is on a mission. That's from Luke and Ventnor. Yeah, I think Embiid is definitely on a mission. That's for sure. Andrew Summers Point chimes in and says the sleeper for the playoffs is Tobias Harris. We need 20 from him. Look, I think Harris, if you're hoping you get 20 from him every night, I think you might be asking for too much because I just don't know if he's that kind of player at this point in time. Could he be that player on another team? Maybe, but the way this team is constructed, if you're needing Tobias to give you 20 on a night-to-night basis, you're probably in trouble. All right, I don't always get to talk a lot of UFC, but there's a huge UFC card this weekend. I want to give you guys some picks for the weekend. Couple things to touch on. One, for those who don't know, UFC 287 is the rematch between Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya. Adesanya lost to Pereira now twice in his life, once in kickboxing, once now in MMA. We've never seen Adesanya fight a guy who he's lost to a second time in MMA because he's won almost every time he's fought in MMA, aside from guys he's already faced. Like when he fought Marvin Vettori, he had fought him already before. It was a split decision win. He goes out there, gets a unanimous decision second time round. I think that it's not a small thing to go with Adesanya in this match. I know he's a heavy favorite. I think the better, if you're someone who wants to throw something down on this, you're better off going with the plus 110 that this fight goes the distance, or that the fight will be won by split or majority decision. Because you go through Adesanya's history, you realize that this guy has 8 wins by decision. And of those 8 decision wins that he has, you got to realize that you're talking about 7 of them coming in the UFC alone. I'm sorry, 8 of them coming in the UFC alone. That's a lot of his decisions. That's a lot of decision victories for a guy to say that almost all of his wins by decision have come in the UFC. So I think that's probably the smartest move to go with that. Listen, I'm not going to waver off of this. I think Masvidal, he's a little overcharged. He's a little overzealous with his fight. I think the fact that he's a heavy underdog against Gilbert Burns is a gross miscalculation by the odds makers. Masvidal is a phenomenal fighter, and I think Burns and Masvidal are two similar fighters, and I'm going to go with the guy who's the underdog in that matchup. Another couple underdogs I like on this card. I don't understand Rob Font being a plus 155, but I like him as an underdog on this card as well. And one more for you guys. I know it's not a hugely popular matchup, but Michelle Waterson being an underdog against Luna Piero is definitely I would ride with that 140 as well. That sounder that interrupted me in my UFC analysis is your signal to call 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Call number 7. You are a qualifier for the Eagles Pick Your Trip contest. As a qualifier, you must be present at Maynard's in Margate during the Sports Bash broadcast from 2 to 6 p.m. on April 27th. Again, caller number 7, 609-573-3776. Caller number 7, you are in for the Eagles Pick Your Trip contest. Sixers tonight at 7:30 p.m. Taking on the Hawks here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe out there.
From the Augusta National Golf Club, Westwood One Sports presents this special report on the Masters. I'm Ted Emmerich. Right about now is when players should have been wrapping up the second round. Instead, about half the field will have to do that tomorrow morning, starting at 8 Eastern. Last hour, Augusta National halted play for good today because of lightning just south of the course. Sam Bennett finished his second round, and he's put together the best amateur performance through 36 holes at Augusta in nearly 70 years. Bennett, the senior from Texas A&M, 8 under, 4 back of the leader Brooks Koepka. Ken Venturi was an amateur in 1956 when he was 9 under midway through the tournament. So is Bennett a scoreboard watcher?
In college tournaments, I'm constantly looking at golf stat on my phone. I like knowing where I'm at, kind of what I need to do. But no, this week I was just looking at them. I mean, I'm at Augusta National, a dream come true, playing in the amateur, just to see my name up there with all the red numbers, those big scoreboards. I mean, they're huge. So, no, I wasn't looking to where I was at. I was just kind of soaking it all in, I guess.
Bennett in solo third behind major champions Brooks Koepka and Jon Rahm. You're listening to coverage of the 2023 Masters on Westwood One.
Remembering great moments in golf history, sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen is the most recommended memory support brand by pharmacists. 1972 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach in California. At the 71st hole, Jack Nicklaus hit one of the most iconic shots ever en route to his third of 4 U.S. Open titles. Nicklaus hit a 1-iron at the par 3 17th that hit the flagstick and settled within tap-in range for the birdie. The win was Nicklaus's 13th major victory, tying him with the great Bobby Jones for the most ever. With this great moment in golf history, I'm Kevin Kugler.
SpringFest savings is here at Lowe's. Don't miss out on the best deals of the season, like 3 free bags of Miracle-Gro garden soil when you buy 3. Plus, save on other items like select laundry pairs. Get an additional $100 off select laundry pairs when you spend $1,296 or more. Head to your local Lowe's or visit Lowe's.com to shop SpringFest savings today. Valid for 4/12. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
Brooks Koepka has put together the third best 36-hole score in Masters history, and he doesn't have to mess with an early morning in the rain and cold to finish his second round. Let's check the leaderboard, sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen is the most recommended memory support brand by pharmacists. Koepka 12 under halfway through. That ranks behind only Jordan Spieth, who was 15 under in 2015, and Raymond Floyd, who was 13 under in 1976. Both Spieth and Floyd ended up earning the green jacket. Jon Rahm will be back on the course Saturday morning. He had about 55 feet for birdie at 10 when play was stopped. Rahm 9 under, 3 back. Tiger Woods is 2 over. He'll resume tomorrow in Amen Corner. From Augusta, I'm Ted Emmerich, Westwood One Sports.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers,
It's good!
and Flyers.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station.